This is a White House that's willing to change history, willing to change facts based on the needs and will of the president. How ignorant do we want our children to be? It's like, oh, you learned real facts? Well, I learned Florida facts.
Targets things like talking about race and maybe the African American History Museum, which is a lot about race and slavery. Transgender and queer erased from the Stonewall Uprising National Monument website.
Let's hop into a shocking CNN report and panel about the Trump administration moving to rewrite and erase history, something definitely only done by the bad guys, so ring the alarm. So leave us a like on the video if you can, helps us out a ton, lets us know you enjoy the content, and it's free. So do that and we'll get right to the panel.
We're learning some new details today after the Smithsonian Institution decided to remove references to President Donald Trump's 2 impeachments from an exhibit on the American presidency. This is the National Museum of American History that we're talking about here in Washington, D.C., that removed the content last month.
We should note, despite President's removal from the exhibit, it still includes information about the impeachments of Presidents Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton and the impeachment process against President Richard Nixon, who resigned from office before he was formally impeached. Let's get the latest from CNN's Tom Foreman. Tom, this all follows President Trump's executive order back in March that targeted the Smithsonian. Do we know exactly why they took these steps?
Well, like a lot of this, do you know exactly why? No, because nobody's going to come out and say we did it because of this, right?
Let me get my quick annoying point off of saying that this is clearly fascism and authoritarian government overreach that MAGA pretended to hate for years when they said it was the left doing it and only the left. But now, of course, they're cheering it on. It's another sad day for America as this symbolizes the politicizing of another crucial part of our everyday life, and more importantly, our knowledge and understanding of the world, that of course being history, especially a national institute of history like this, one as significant to our culture as the Smithsonian. We've had, media entirely politicized by MAGA, science politicized by MAGA, healthcare politicized by MAGA, and now history as well. Can anyone tell me an instance ever throughout history of the good guys erasing history? More and more of our national institutes are being seized, threatened. Our institutes of academia are being seized and threatened, and all forced to corrupt themselves to fit a political agenda. This is quite literally what fascism is, guys. Like, it's not a bunch of people dying and them shooting you in the streets. We're seeing it unfold before our eyes.
Stuff happening everywhere, right? Florida is in the middle of doing this. We have to decide as a country, do we think it's better for our kids to be armed with all the best information, the best facts, to be able to tackle a world that we can't even imagine that things are going to have to deal with? Or are we going to deprive them from information so they walk into the world without knowing the history they need to know in order to compete?
I say that all the time. Like, how ignorant do we want our children to be? It's like, oh, you learned real facts? Well, I learned Florida facts. So I don't know that slavery existed, or I don't know that Donald Trump was impeached. That's not a way to live as a country. It's certainly not a way to educate our children. But ultimately, I think at the end of the day, this is a White House that's willing to change history, willing to change facts based on the needs and will of the president. Why would you scoff? That's literally what we just read.
He asked this schools, right?
Oh, okay, so your teacher teaches you that 3 presidents were impeached, and you're supposed to go on the internet and say, was my teacher right? Oh, it really was 4.
This is where, ironically enough, historical literacy is so important, because this is the exact point. Fascists need an uneducated population because it's easier to control. If you don't know the signs and patterns of fascism, you're not going to be able to fight back against it. You're going to be more prone to it happening. If you don't know what racism is or the effects it has, you won't be as willing to push back against it. If you only trust information from your side, you'll never want to revolt against it. It's all easily detectable actions to guide us as a people, essentially into a herd mentality where we're just following what we're told. And the saddest part of it all is that these people are doing so. They're instituting this by convincing a large part of the population that they are the independent, critical thinkers who are following the establishment by just having blind skepticism. It's 2 sides of a horseshoe. You shouldn't have blind trust, but you shouldn't have blind skepticism either. If you're just outright saying, I distrust all media, I distrust all this and this, you're probably just as stupid as the people saying, well, I trust all of them.
Can I offer maybe a common sense proposal to the congressman to my right? I mean, can we please take politics and politicians out of things like the Smithsonian and the Park Service? And, because if this were like a one-off thing, I'd be like, okay, weird. It is really weird, but not a big deal, maybe. But there are other things. I mean, the improper ideology was targeted in the the Trump EO. What does that even mean? It targets things like talking about race and maybe the African American History Museum, which is a lot about race and slavery. Transgender and queer erased from the Stonewall Uprising National Monument website by, I guess, the National Park Service. I don't know, just straight up, like, can we just not have things just reflect what actually happened as opposed to what the politician in the White House wants to say happened?
It's exactly why academia and intellectualism are two things that are more worth fighting for than almost anything else, especially for where we're at. And they're two things that Trump very much stands against because these things aren't political. Science is not political. History is not a matter of political perspective. Health isn't a matter of politics, right? Vaccines aren't political. And Trump wanting to attack and erase only history that is negative of his side, but the very real history of LGBT minorities as well and ethnic history as well. We see this in Florida also with slavery and how they're teaching that in CRT and all of this. It goes back to the white-centric, straight male worldview that Trump has for America, where there's not room for anyone who fits outside of that on the top, but he'll fit you in at the bottom if you're willing to fall in line, but definitely not if you're dissenting. That is key to fascism. These things don't have as drastic and everyday effect as the policy we discuss. So I know how on their face they can seem more mundane, but in what they symbolize to the destruction of the fabric of America is every bit as damaging.